Greetings, Commanders. Welcome back to Legend of the Stars 2017. I've got to get it right because we're just about heading into 2018, but right now we are finding out who is the best 1 versus 1 player in all of Forged Alliance Foreverdom. There are a lot of strong contenders in this mix, but we have just watched Farmsletje manage to take down Achieve Jaguar, so he secured the points in this round robin segment of the tournament. Next, we're going to go and have a look at Farmsletje taking on, oh goodness, I have forgotten who it is. It is Farmsletje and Zock by the look of it. Alright, let's have a look at the scoreboard and see how these round robin standings are looking so far. We can see Zock there with the 2 points. They managed to take off Bravo. Big Priamism is achieved Jaguar, so he gave up the 2 points to Farmsletje. So now we'll be looking at Zock versus Farmsletje, trying to get ahead and see who's going to come up with the best result out of this one. Let's head straight on into the game and check it out. Alright, we are on Eye of the Storm. So we have got an interesting start. Normally in the 1 versus 1 of this map, we have bottom right versus top left. So let's just quickly fix up that scoreboard. Zock and Farmsletje. Alright, that's going to be a bit better. Okay, so let's have a look at the initial build orders, see how these guys are getting on. So Zock is going to use his customary orange color. I wish I had a better name for it, but I'm just going to call it orange. He is going to go Aeon as well, so he's going to have floaty tanks, might give him a little bit of a leg up in the expansion across the map. He's going to get that first land factory down. We can see 2 power generators before he gets his core mass extractors, and the engineer heading across to grab this hydro. Once that's completed, he will have enough power to make this air factory work and start to get some scouts and interceptors, maybe even some bombers out to boot. Up in the top right, Farmsletje opting for UEF once again. He is obviously a UEF fanboy, even opting for that on White Fire, which was crazy, but it worked out really well for him. He's going to get that first land factory down. He's getting the hydro built, and we can see that second air factory from him as well. That's going to let them have a bit of a rush for the center. And what is this? They've already got a whole lot of plans. What is that? Is that an engineer or is that the ACU? Does that look like the ACU is moving to the center? It sure does to me. So he will be able to secure that once the ACU arrives. That will be very, very difficult to dislodge. Zock, meanwhile, is starting to expand across the map. We can see engineers going out for a reclaim. We have that one engineer heading up to the center as well, but that will be met by an awful lot of tanky firepower. He may, though, be able to grab those rocks as a reclaim before that happens, because the ACU is a bit slower than the engineers. Alright, so we've got this reclaim happening down here, a couple of NGs going at it, and then we can see a bit of a build queue to get the mass extractors secured, get all the way out here, and even drop down a point defense by the looks of it on this peninsula to stop any raids. Typically, though, you would see bombers or drops causing all sorts of things, or even naval fire. They would cause problems to that more than the raids. But this is Zock. Who am I to question such a masterful player? If we look at the ratings, though, he is currently rated 2,000, but this is, of course, the global rating and not the 1 versus 1. In Forged Alliance Forever, they are separate ratings, and Zock is right up there in the 1 versus 1 ladder ratings. Alright, his ACU is moving off towards the north, so it's going to come right at the top and secure this big expansion up here. That's going to be very difficult for Farms to dislodge, given that he has sent his ACU to the middle, and it also means that he's a bit vulnerable when it comes to this expansion over here, because it is expected that Farms will get build power down into that, take those mass extractors and secure that for his very own. But that's going to be a wee bit harder, given that there's no tanky ACU to make it happen. We've got a whole lot of inties out now for Zock. He's definitely expecting a bomber to come through the center there, and there is a bomber. Will it go through the center? In fact, that is just about exactly what it does. Those 3 interceptors from Zock pouncing on the one that Farms has managed to put out so far. The scout is going to pick up that bomber on its radar and its vision because it was so close. The bomber immediately changes course to try and get some kind of cover, but that is not going to happen. We can see all of those interceptors chasing it down. The one lone intie comes in from Farms to try and save the day, but that is definitely not going to happen, and Zock takes out that bomber. A very poor investment there from Farmsletje indeed. Right, Farms managing to get across the top of the map reasonably well. He's got 1 NG across to this peninsula. He's made 1 mass extractor. He's putting the second down, and it looks like just an attack move after that to try and scoop up a bit of reclaim. He probably is not looking to hold on to that for too long, given that Zock is going to be up into this top left corner pretty soon, and Farms, I think, has done enough scouting to be aware that that is the plan. I don't think, though, that Zock has spotted where the ACU for Farms is. He probably will be a little bit surprised that it's going to pop up in the middle. That is definitely not the established meta, and Zock will have to maybe adjust his plans a little to match. We do have a bomber out from Zock as well, but there are too many interceptors at the moment from Farmsletje to really be able to use it. He will have to get a nice opportunity. Perhaps it's just waiting for an engineer to come into this bottom right corner so he can pick it off. But it did get picked up by that scout, and we can see the interceptors making an absolute beeline for it. No, the orders have changed. Farmsletje has thought twice about it. He's going to leave that bomber alone, but he will bring his own bomber in to try and finish off that engine. Now, that's the one that was going to build this radar and then a point defense, but it looks like those plans are going to be scuppered. There we go. No reaction at all from Zock, and that NG goes down without a fight. Perhaps a little bit of micro there, but I saved it given the number of interceptors Zock has right here on hand. That is actually looking very, very even. It would definitely come down to micro as to who comes out on top if they force an air engagement. Zock doing a nice job of getting a radar all around the place. Unfortunately, this Aurora not able to shoot over the embankment there. Still just trying to take out the NG to absolutely no avail. But at least he does have some vision and radar coverage as a result. The air fight is going on. It looks like Zock managing to group his fighters a little bit better, and he comes out on top, managing to blast all of those inties out of the sky from Farmsletje, and that gives Zock a nice little win in the air. But there are a lot of bombers, and this map is big enough that the interceptors will take quite some time to get across. The saving grace for Zock, though, is that the bombers are not going to be able to do enough to move that ACU. It's got way too much HP, but they will be able to just damage all of this intel that Zock was collecting and maybe trying to do a little bit of raiding, though it was not too convincing. Alright, the ACU for Farmsletje is now in the center here. He's going to start putting down those mass extractors. The Navy, though, these guys have both built 1 naval factory apiece. We've got 1 submarine out, well, actually 2 submarines out for Farms, and we have got a frigate and a second frigate out for Zock. So Zock not expecting to have that underwater menace just at this point in the game, but the HP on those frigates and the DPS of those Tiger Sharks mean that it is actually not going to be terribly effective anyway. More a nuisance than anything else. You have to have a pretty big stack of those subs to actually make a difference. Alright, we do have a drop from Farms down here. He's got 3 NGs in, but he is actually pretty late to the party. We can see there are already Auroras on the ground for Zock. They've walked, I should say, floated all the way across from that left-hand initial starting position. That's a little bit of a misstep from Farms. He has not brought the ACU down there. That is giving up the entire position. So he has sacrificed the bottom right corner to grab that central island. I'm not sure if that was a particularly good move, given that he is up against such a efficient and highly skilled 1 versus 1 player. So now he loses those NGs. He did get the Hydro online, but it's only going to last a few seconds before it's completely destroyed by those Auroras, and there's actually no combat units to follow it up as well. So all of these NGs, all of the factories, mass extractors, and he hasn't even reclaimed either. All of that is going to be a complete loss to just a small handful of Auroras making their way up the island. There's actually a massive deficit of combat units from Farmsletje. I don't know that he's produced a single ground combat unit to this point. In fact, he still hasn't. He's just got the one land factory, and it's just producing engineers. There we go. Out of this factory, he started producing some combat units. He is going to shield the striker behind the factory. It's not going to be enough, though. It could keep the Auroras from pushing on through, though there's a couple more joining the party. There we go, another striker coming in. The lower HP on the Auroras is definitely going to come into play here, but still, the number of Auroras against the one at a time strikers coming out of that factory, that's not a good place for Farmsletje to be. He is not going to be able to hold that position, and we can see there's just a constant stream of Auroras joining the party. Even if he could beat what was there, there's still more coming, and he is going to be pushed out of that corner. So he has really given up that eco and all of the eco down the side of the map to be able to take the center island with the ACU. I'm guessing he was probably betting on a different strategy, and it just hasn't really paid off. This is going to be very difficult for farms to come back from. We can see now all of these mass extractors are under immediate threat. The NG is going to go down. In fact, there's still no reinforcements. It looks like the sole defense is going to be a Tech 1 PD throwing down by those NGs there. They must be surely going to put down a land factory after that to try and get some more firepower to counter what Zock is bringing. He does have a Tech 1 bomber though, and those things are absolutely brutal against the Tech 1 Aeon units because the HP on them is so low that a single pass from a Tech 1 bomber, and especially if they're in a nice line, look at the nice work there, the fire trail just heading across what used to be 3 Auroras, absolutely going to have fun with that. And there's a few more to come and take out, but they're really spread out. He's definitely not going to get the same sort of kill density as he has, and there are a whole lot of inties on the way as well. So Farms has lost that air control to Zock, so he's not going to be able to rely on those Tech 1 bombers for too long. In fact, Zock has shifted up to Tech 2 air. He's got a couple of Tech 2 gunships. They are going to start dismantling the base on that island. The upgrade is 95% complete on this ACU. What was the upgrade? Tech 2. Well, I'm not sure that's going to do him too much use now, because if he does pop up a couple of stationary flaks, the gunships are simply going to move off and find some easier pickings like this peninsula here. So the eco for farms is getting a little bit depressed now. We're just looking at the scoreboard. We can see 59 per tick for Farmsletje and 73 to Zock. That's as a result of Zock owning both of these corners and all the mass extractors in between, because Farms just didn't have any boots on the ground to push back when Zock decided that he wanted all of that territory. So right now we're looking at probably about 75% territory control to Zock and just the remaining 25 to Farms. And it looks like the naval balance is very, very heavily in Zock's favor as well. There's a whole lot of Tech 1 submarines, so both these guys shifting to Tech 1 sub warfare. But Zock has got the numbers on his side to just push on in and make it work for him. Meanwhile, he has established a spam factory up in the top left here, and we can see a bunch of Auroras, and there's even some AA to boot as well, because that's just how much more eco Zock has. He can produce AA when he doesn't need it because he has air control. He's just going to start walking those guys across. There's even a couple of Tech 2 mass extractors completely undefended. There's absolutely nothing to stop the gunships from coming in, taking those out. The Auroras will have to fight through these strikers beforehand, but that is not a good place for Farms to be in. And what is the plan here? He is going for a TAC missile upgrade. Once again, he really loves that UEF Tactical Commander. What is his game here? Is he going to be in reach? Let's have a quick look at Farmsletje's perspective. And look at that, he doesn't have to move very far at all, and then all of Zock's base is actually within reach. And we can see that line move as the ACU moves forward. Is probably going to try and pick off, wow, what is the target going to be? The Tech 2 mass extractors? Power is going to be a very difficult target to take out right now because it's still spread out, and all of the Tech 1 power gens. The best power target he could take would be the Hydro, and then there's the Tech 2 air factory. But even taking that out, I don't think that is going to give too much value to Farmsletje at this point. And we can see we've even got Swift Winds out of that Tech 2 factory for Zock. So he is absolutely solidifying that hold on the air. I wonder if that Tech 2 upgrade for Farm's ACU was solely to be able to produce TAC missiles a bit faster. That seems to be what he's doing. He's going to have to pop into the water though, because those Spectres are starting to rain some hurt down on his head. He's down to 12k HP out of 14,000. There is not a lot he can do though if he comes out of the water. He's going to get pummeled by gunships. If he stays in the water, he's going to get pummeled by Zock's naval superiority. So there is not a lot he can do here. The best he could hope for would be a snipe. But what's this? We've even got some volcanoes down from Zock now that he's spotted those incoming TAC missiles. How much damage was done? Interestingly, was that the angle of attack or was that the aimed at the factory? I really cannot tell, but that is not a great target there. I'm pretty sure it was aimed at the mass extractor, but the factory just got in the way. So Farms with a last ditch effort here to try and do some damage, but it really is not going to work very well. He probably would be better off right now to try and get this Tech 2 naval factory down before the volcano is completed, but that is done already. Zock definitely on the ball with getting his TAC missile defenses up as soon as he realized what Farmsletje's play was, and there we go, we can see that TAC missile deflecting away from the volcano, and I think that is going to be the end of Farmsletje's run. He has invested all he had left into that TAC missile. He is just going to sit there pinging away with those missiles until he dies. I do suspect he's just got a little stream of strikers coming out of this base. Well, it's actually a decent stream, but he is just so constricted right now, stuck back in the corner. He's on 47 mass protect to the 112 of Zock, so more than a 2-to-1 mass advantage to the orange player at this point. That is not going to go well for Farm. He's still just trying to suppress that eco a little bit though, managing to pick off those Tech 2 mass extractors. That's still working because there's no Tech 2 engineers in the vicinity that Zock can use to try and defend against them. We can see there is a dispatched Tech 2 engine at this point. It's going to come around and try and start building volcanoes, but it is a little bit too late. We'll probably see another missile away. There we go, the missile is already in the air. That is doing a lot of eco damage, but still, it's just too little too late. Farms has lost out on the Navy. He's got submarines sitting in his bay. He actually could pick up some of that reclaim to help out his ailing economy. He's even bringing frigates in to assist with this Tech 1 land engagement. That is a sign of desperation. Zock is still moving up on this right hand side. He has pushed through those point defense. That's not a good thing to rely on those point defense entirely, because a couple of artillery, we can see some fervors leading the charge there. They can just sit back and take out those point defense at range absolutely unopposed. So you really need to have those mobile units in there as well if you think you're going to be able to do anything with them. Alright, the Tech 2 factory is still going. It has got a destroyer out of the gate now, so that destroyer is going to have plenty of range on those main cannons. Actually, there's already one all the way up towards Farmsletje's side of the map. They will be able to sit back and pummel all of this power, all of these factories. They will be able to reach, I think, a couple of those mass extractors as well. That's going to be absolutely impossible for Farms to defeat, and there's even an Exodus class sitting in the bay here that's probably going to engage the ACU. As soon as the ACU pops out of the water, it will be under threat, and those Exodus class, they have a bit of torpedo damage as well, so they will be able to continue plinking away at the ACU if it stays underwater. Alright, this match is in the final stages now because Zock has broken through on this left-hand side as well. He's actually lost all of his forces coming through to bombers on this right-hand side. He did respond with his interceptors, but that wasn't until after all of his Auroras had been destroyed. At this time, it's just a case of Zock deciding how he wants to finish this, how he's going to get in there. In fact, he could even potentially create mercies at this point. There is a little bit of T1AA that would stop mercies, but that would be an appropriate cheese response to the cheese that we've seen from Farmsletje so far in this tournament. But it looks like it's going to be a little bit more standard than that. The Exodus destroyers are just going to sit back, smash this base into smithereens, and force Farmsletje into submission. He's just sitting there looking around, trying to figure out what his next play is going to be. There we go, there's another TAC missile out of the backpack. But if we zoom in far enough, I wonder if we can see a scared expression. No, there's just a little bit too much shadow on his face there, but I'm sure he is shaking in his little UEF boots in that ACU. We've got a drop in the back. Was that a drop? It must be a drop. I believe I saw a transport. I think it is. He's come in the back of the base and absolutely destroyed all of that eco that Farmsletje was relying on. He's lost his mass extractors in here. I think he did actually manage to take out a destroyer. Look, there is a wreck there, and Farmsletje is calling Zock a nub as a result of losing his destroyer to tactical missiles. But it's not going to change the outcome of this game, and I think the evidence clearly shows that Zock is not the nub here. There we go, the ACU taking some damage from those Spectre gunships. This is going to be the final bit, and there we go, UEF forever. Well done, Farmsletje. You have a template for UEF. I congratulate you, sir. But that is not going to stop you from exploding. Alright, and that is a win to Zock. So let's find our little scoreboard and just crank that up 1 point. This is of course best of 3. No, don't do that. Wi-Fi was not the correct map. Let's do this one. Alright, so Zock was successfully able to dismantle Farmsletje's effort there to go 1 up in this best of 3. Let's get stuck into match 2.